And there's a whole lesson in that. And that is, are you where you're supposed to be when God calls you? Remember the story about David and Bathsheba? When you go all the way back and study that from the very beginning, you know, David's fighting men went out to war. He chose to stay back. If David would have been with them, he wouldn't have even seen Bathsheba. And then he laid there. Then he went up on the roof. He should have been with his man. And then he looked out and he saw Bathsheba. They had showers on top of the buildings. He saw her. Now, he could have saw her, turned around and came back in, but he kept looking. Strike two. Then he went back in and he still could have said, let me pray to God to get these images out of my mind. But he sent for her. At what point do we readjust? We're just digging further down into the rabbit hole. And then he lay with her. We'll keep it G-rated. He lay with her. And then she became pregnant, right? And then her husband, Uriah the Hittite, came back. And David wanted to have it set up to where, well, if he lays with her, maybe he'll think it's his daughter. His child. It was a male child. So he sent Uriah to his house to sleep. And Uriah, being the honorable military man that he was, said, how can I sleep in my bed when my men are out there fighting? He slept on the porch. If you understand how powerful that one scene was, because when you're out fighting in a war, and I know this very well, when you get home, you can't wait to touch that bed. Just for the comfort and see your family. His wife was inside, but he chose to sleep on the porch. David could have stopped right there and came clean, because he's the king. Then he told the commanders, send Uriah to the forefront. Got that man killed. Now, how many opportunities did David have to adjust from that sin? And with us, we have to be careful. The minute Dinah said, well, I need to go out and mix with the daughters of the land, she should have said, well, no, because they serve a different God. The God we serve helps set our values. I've known guys that have beaten their wives because they saw daddy do it or they saw their brother do it. So it influenced them. That's the tough thing about influence. What's powerful about influence other than what I just said? What's on the good side? What's great about influence? When you have a bad influence, especially as a child, it can make you do horrible things. But what's great about influence?
It helps you to get you more.
Very good, Brother Lopez. And also, influence can outlive us. One of the biggest influence of why I'm up here today and blessed to be an elder is because of that lady sitting right back there and my mother and her mother, who was a member of the Church of Christ, and all of our uncles who were members of the Church of Christ. That's influence. That influence, my grandmother's no longer living, but her influence still lives because of what she did. Make sense? Questions or comments? Thank you all for your comments. Yes, Sister Lopez. I'm not quite. I know that they both were of adult age. Now I can't give you a specific number though, but they both were of adult age. I don't know. I do know that they both were adult age and whatever adulthood was considered then, because there's no way that Jacob could give her to marriage or to be with him. Yes, Brother Lopez.
No, I read some scholars that they said she was a teenager, less than 18.
I don't. Nothing I've studied said that, and I don't see the indication in Scripture. But that's something that I'll further research. Any further questions, comments? Because, Sister Lopez? But we don't know though. Hmm. Yes, we're going to see later where it says he took her by force. Woman is always at fault. Now, so you're saying if a woman provokes a man, she's the one that's at fault? So if a lady's walking down the street with no clothes on, now she should have some clothes on, obviously, and a man rapes her, that's the lady's fault? I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying because I don't see that as that lady. There's no reason why a man should take her by force. He needs to turn his head then. When you say this case, you mean with Dinah? Well, the Bible says he took her by force. She that I still can't see that as the fault she made was more of a spiritual thing mixing with the daughters of the land. But I can't see that being Dinah's fault with Shechem raping her. I don't see that indication. Yes, Sister Brown and Daryl and brother the new brother. A little bit louder. Yes. There's always a free will. And if a man chooses to rape a lady, that man is wrong because he made that choice. Yes, was Daryl? Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we were addressing just the blame. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes, brother. Then I'll make a final comment. We'll move on. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir. Make it right. Deuteronomy 22, just 29? Yes. Popular Old Testament verse. Now, the last comment. Now, there's always something for us to learn. I remember when I was growing up with my mom in the house, and she did a wonderful job. If a girl called and I picked the phone up and I didn't talk to her very long, my mom was always telling me, if you don't like her, don't have her call in this house. Because it can be perceived, well, he likes me, and I really don't. You follow me? So it's always good. You can always learn from that. And there's always something to learn. Yes, last comment, Brother Lopez.
Yeah, thank you. I read an investigation by psychologists, and we cannot put all on the same basket both cases.
Yes.
Okay? Regular cases, yeah, it's the blame on the guy, on the man. But they investigated with many races, and they have the same trend that they look in women.
Mm-hmm.
And that provokes them. And obviously, they are races in the different groups.
Yes. I'll follow you. Any additional comments or questions? Yes, JV. Mm-hmm. 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 Ooh. But you're JV, you're making it bottom line. No matter where she walks, for somebody to accost her or do something ungodly to her, that is not her fault. There's always a better way to do so. Well, maybe I should take in this street, but because I didn't, that's my fault. I don't see that. But that's we can believe what we want to believe, but I tell you, and we're gonna see what the other sons of Jacob are going to do. It doesn't mean that they're right either. It should have been a beeline to the person who did the sin, the sinful act. Okay. Verses 3 through 5 of Genesis 34. And his soul, whose soul are we talking about here? Shechem. And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob. And he loved the damsel, and spake kindly unto the damsel. And Shechem spake unto his father Hamor, saying, Get me this damsel to wife. And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now his sons were with his cattle in the field, and Jacob held his peace until they were come. Now that was a bit of wisdom of Jacob. Wait for them to get home before they make a beeline and leave the job and head over and do something where they would be just as guilty. But it lets us know, it says here that Shechem loved Dinah. Now, when you study, I think I was talking to Sister Vanquil about this. When you study the Hivites, it was almost like a caveman mentality. It's like, you, my woman, you coming with me? No, yes, you are. By force. And you see that in the way that he took. How could you be in love and take a lady by force like that? Talking about that influence. That was the influence that he was used to. Let's see what happens. Romans 12 and 19. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves. This is what we can learn from this. But rather give place unto wrath. That's the key piece. For it is written, Vengeance is mine. I will repay, saith the Lord. So we don't know Jacob's what strategy he's going to use. We're going to find out here in a minute. But should Jacob be seeking vengeance? I didn't hear anybody. No, because it belongs to the Lord. Let's see what he does, whether he seeks a righteous stance or a vengeance stance. Ephesians 4 and 26 lets us know too. Be ye angry. Is being angry a sin? No, that's the internal sign. I think we spoke about signs last week. If I'm doing 90 up Miami Gardens Boulevard past the Checkers, what's right there? It's a light, right? And if it's red, what is that sign telling me to do? I better stop quick, put on the brakes. That's what our emotions are designed for. So the sin is not in the sign of being angry. That's internal. It's what comes out of the external. The external says, "Be ye angry and sin not." That's where we get into the action. And it says, let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Why is that there? What does that mean? Don't let the sun go down upon your wrath.
Fix your situation before the sun.
What's a quick way of saying that with the P word? Yes. Or it should be a priority. It should be a priority, because if not, you can give place to the devil. And that one problem you had can expand into other things. So you should want to seek to resolve that as soon as possible. Make sense? Questions, comments? Yes, Brother Lopez.
But on the Old Testament, it used to be eye for an eye,
And tooth for a tooth. That's exactly right. And that didn't solve too many things. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Things for us to learn. What was the purpose of the Old Testament? Bring us unto Christ. Because was there any salvation in the Old Testament? No. Matter of fact, the sins were what? What does Hebrew tells us? They were rolled back. So you obeyed God ultimately, but salvation only came through the blood of Christ. Does that make sense? You were, whatever dispensation you were under, that's what you were supposed to do. But the shedding of Christ's blood is the thing that ultimately brought salvation. And that wasn't present in the Old Testament. Just prophesy. Verses 6 through 8 of Genesis 34. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out unto Jacob to commune with him. Now that says a lot about the dad. He's going. He already knows what happened. It says, and the sons of Jacob came out of the field when they heard it. And the men were grieved. And they were very wroth, because he had wrought folly in Israel in line with Jacob's daughter. What does that mean? Why had he wrought folly? They know. JV. Oh, I'm sorry. No. What was the purpose of the Old Testament? That's exactly right. It's like a preparation. It's like, remember we spoke about the baptism of John the Baptist versus the baptism we have today? The purpose of John's baptism was to take them to the cross. Okay, but there was no salvation in John's baptism because Christ's blood hadn't been shed yet. The purpose of if we were to baptize somebody today, their sins go back to the cross because that's where Christ spilled his blood, and that's where they can find salvation. A lot of times I've heard people teach him as one and the same. There was a man who was baptized under John's baptism. Why would he have to be rebaptized then? And that's the only rebaptism in the Bible, because that wasn't the baptism for the remission of sins. Make sense? Now it says, and when they heard it and the men were grieved, they were very wroth because he had wrought folly in Israel in line with Jacob's daughter. They weren't supposed to what? Now, when I say intermarry, this has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with what? That's right. God. We'll learn. We won't get to Solomon today, but what was probably Solomon's biggest folly? You know, he's known as the 3W man: wealth, wisdom, and women. What was Solomon's big issue? Women, especially women from foreign lands. Because with that, yeah, they may look fine, look good, but they brought in false gods. And it corrupted the nation of Israel. But it says here, because he had wrought folly in Israel in line with Jacob's daughter, which thing ought not to be done. And Hamor communed with them, saying, the soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. I pray you give her him to wife. Now, is there something honorable about this? Y'all think I'm setting you up with that question, don't you? At least the inhabitants of the land is trying to figure out a way to make this right. Remember, they didn't worship the God, the one only God. But they're trying to make this right. And notice, Jacob didn't go to him, he went to Jacob. So there was an opportunity there of influence. That was the first bill, right? I want to get to a few more. Look at Psalms 37:3. Trust in the Lord and do good. So shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily or truly thou shalt be fed. Now, many times we hear the trust in the Lord. You know what's the key part here, though? And do good. Now, Jacob was a man who followed God, right? It was obvious that he trusted God. But was he willing? Is he going to be willing to do good? And that's not. I'm not just talking about moral goodness. I'm talking about goodness as righteousness as prescribed by God. Because we're going to see his sons have a totally different take. Two of the sons, excuse me, are going to have a totally different take on this. Verses 9-11. And make ye marriages with us. Look at how far Shechem is taken. Hamor, Shechem's father, is taking this. And make ye marriages with us, and give your daughters unto us, and take our daughters unto you, and ye shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade ye therein, and get you possessions therein. And Shechem said unto her father, and unto her brethren, let me find grace in your eyes, and what ye shall say unto me, I will give. They're putting up quite an offering, aren't they? They're saying, take our daughters. You can possess the land with us. You can trade. They're making it look real good. But not one time did you hear them say, and we'll worship your God. Remember in Esther, and your God shall be my God? I love that verse. So they're trying to go all the way around it. Doesn't it sound like the world? You know, the world will say, go ahead and have your sex, young people. Just use a condom. You'll be all right. What did God say? You better hold it till you're married. The world will always try to find ways to try to make it right, but it still falls short. What do you think Jacob's going to do? To a faithless man, this may sound like a good deal, doesn't it? But to a man of God, it shouldn't even be a temptation. Galatians 5:9. A little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. If they were to come together, just like Solomon and those ungodly women, what could come of the nation of Israel with that influence? You see, it wasn't about trade. It wasn't about possession. It wasn't even about marriage. It was about their faithfulness to God. And would they hold that faithfulness no matter what? Did I see a hand? All right, let's go. Verses 12-14. Ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according, that's our last verse, give according as ye shall say unto me. But give me the damsel to wife. Now he's saying, whatever you're asking me, I'm going to give to you. Just let me have her. And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his wife deceitfully. Here's your indicator. And said, because he had defiled Dinah their sister. And they said unto them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised. For that were a reproach unto us. Now, are they initially responding correctly? Yes. Circumcision was like the culminating act of you connecting with God in the Old Testament. Kind of like today, the culminating act is being baptized, watery grave of baptism. So we got to stop here, but Wednesday we'll pick up to see if they hold to this, because they responded back the way God would have them according to his word, did they not? We'll see, Lord's will, Wednesday if they hold to it. Bow with me as we close out our lesson.